what do you like? Tell me what you like.
There's value in that because it almost gives the brain like a vacation, right?
Holistic health is completely underappreciated, but so critical. Eating whole foods, and the key is just to find something that you really enjoy.
Welcome to the NAMP Nourishing You podcast. I'm Kristen Burkett.
And I'm Diana Wally. We're your hosts for NAMP's podcast dedicated to connecting holistic health enthusiasts with each other to share practical information from the holistic wellness space for enhanced vitality.
Diana and I are master nutrition therapists, board certified in holistic nutrition with private practices and an online joint venture that supports clients and practitioners as they strive to reach their full potential. We're honored to be hosting this podcast for NAMP and connecting our listeners with the latest in holistic wellness.
And if you enjoyed today's show, help us out by commenting below, liking this video, and subscribing to the channel to help us spread the word.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Nourishing You podcast. We're excited to have Paul Burgess join us today to talk about the big 3 biohacks for longevity. Paul is the principal at Paul Burgess Functional Medicine Limited, which is a global telemedicine provider with patients all around the world. He focuses on giving people back the capacity to live a fulfilling, happy life every day by dealing with all the health issues they have and cutting through the confusion patients face on a daily basis when it comes to what is best for them and what to do with their own health. His typical patient has seen all the usual doctors, specialists, and consultants, and have been told there's nothing wrong. It's all in your head. He has extensive knowledge of testing when looking at mold, toxicity, heavy metals, and blood work. All the way from the UK, welcome, Paul. We are so grateful to have you here with us today.
Thanks for having me on. And just so people know, we've met before. Many years ago, actually about 3 years ago, when you came on my show. So it's wonderful to catch back up with you and see what you're doing here. This is amazing stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I know we had so much fun being on your show. We still talk about that. And, we said we're going to do it again. And here we have this opportunity. So we're really excited. Paul, one of my favorite things about you and the way you practice is how you help your clients create happy lives. I like to think of it as growing your happiness portfolio. You're so good at that. And of course, this has positive benefits all the way around, from health to personal to career and so on. And speaking of creating a happy and fulfilling life, we'd love to start off today by hearing your story and your on-ramp to the holistic health field and your current area of focus.
No, okay. So 55 years ago, when I started in this world, actually my history was when I was about 15, I really got into health and fitness, believe it or not, in a very basic way, because back then there was nothing available to us on the internet. We were all about like magazines that you could potentially buy in shops and so on, and information was quite scarce. However, I persisted with it and I enjoyed it. I went through my 30s and 40s and 20s and 30s and kept myself fit, but was in working in the city of London. And I didn't really love the job, and I didn't like the stress, and I didn't like a lot of the elements that came with it. So I decided to move more into my passion, which was health and fitness. And so I became qualified and started building a company so that I could benefit from it commercially. And that's kind of how I got into it. It's from a very young age that I was interested, but it was only in my kind of mid-30s that I decided to really build something significant from it. And I have to say now, looking back, I don't recognize that person from 20 years ago because so many things have changed, and we've become so much more educated in the kind of things that we can bring to patients and what's important, because it's not just the health, it's more about how do we live a happy, fulfilling life every day. And most people don't have the capacity because they're so focused on their health issues, and they don't know, what's the best diet and what's the best supplement and what's the best way to get my sleep back and my energy and my libido's dropped. And, they're focusing on these things and they're forgetting to actually see what's going on in life, that they could actually be enjoying and being happy.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your training, Paul? We're just curious, like, I believe you're a clinical nutritionist. Is that
Clinical
correct?
nutrition, yeah, was my initial diploma and my initial qualification. And then since then, it's just evolved into more functional medicine, certainly testing, as you mentioned earlier, mold, toxicity, heavy metals, bloods, a lot of the things that give us better data about somebody's health. Because without that data, it's no wonder people are confused as to, how do I get my sleep right? Because it says I just need to take melatonin, or I just need to take ashwagandha, and that just needs to sort my stress out. But realistically, you've got a pathogen, or you've got some sort of parasitic infection, or there's a mold infection, or something else is going on that is never going to get cured by that kind of thing. Yeah. And so knowing the full picture is really important from my perspective. And the issue we have in most people is they don't know how to interpret the tests correctly. And then they certainly don't know how to treat the patient. So just before this call, actually, I was on a call with a gentleman in London who I'd not spoken to before. And he was talking about his arthritis that he's had for many years from a very young age. And the doctors are giving him this very, very strong anti-inflammatory, and they're treating the symptom, but they're not treating the cause because they don't know what the cause is. And for me, the first thing you do is, okay, let's find the cause. Because is it something you picked up? Is it a tick bite? Was it some sort of toxicity in an area that you were living in? Is it some combination of things that have accumulated over time that are causing this massive inflammatory response in you? And I'm pretty confident that once we've done some work with him, we'll find out what the real causes are and then address that rather than address the symptoms. And so moving from being clinical nutritionist to basically get your qualification, get your insurance and be able to practice, and then building out from there is kind of what the story's been.
Yeah. Well, the whole concept of living life fully is, definitely what Diana and I are really thinking about. And even more so these days, as we creep deeper into the decade that we're in, we find ourselves wanting to make sure our quality of life going forward is as rich as it can be, because, there's such a difference between living a long life versus living a fully engaged life. And that's what we want. I mean, my husband's grandfather was skiing in his late 80s. And, I want to do that. That's where we all want to be. So we know this is a topic that you are well versed in. And so we love having the opportunity to talk to you about it. I think, we all want to just have as much vitality as possible. So let's get started on going into some of these biohacks for longevity. Can you start us off with talking about how nutrition relates to that?
Yeah. So firstly, I don't like biohack, the word, and I'll tell you why. It's got this connotation now about some form of magical properties that will allow you to be something amazing. And that's not true. So I find that people who are doing that biohacking, in inverted commas, are doing it because there are so many things wrong that they don't know how to get it fixed. So they try and do all this other stuff to rebalance it. And so what I like to look at, so there's a couple of things. Firstly, why do we want to be happy and fulfilled every day? And this is, if anyone's ever listened to me on any of the other interviews I've done, this is something I always repeat because I think it's very valid. So the story is, we're all born with a bank account and we can't add anything to it. All we can do is every day we withdraw 24 hours. And if those 24 hours are spent stressed, miserable, tired, worried, and not making the very most out of what life has to offer, then that 24 hours have been wasted. It's never coming back. And the next day we go back to that ATM and we draw out another 24 hours. And if it's still miserable and tired and in pain and suffering and all the rest of it, that takes our focus. And what we don't have is a capacity to look at everything around us in life that just brings us joy and fulfillment, because we're too focused on this other stuff. The problem is we do not know how much we've got left in that account. We don't know what our balance is. So I might have 2 days left. I might have 20,000 days. But unless I'm enjoying every one of them, there's never going to be a point in which I can turn around and say, oh, I'll do it. Once I've finished all this stuff, then I'll be happy. Because who knows when that's ever going to come. And so being happy, fulfilled, enjoying life every day, and having the capacity to actually have a default position that says, that's how you wake up every day. Your radar is on. Show me these amazing things that are going to happen because I want to find them. All of a sudden, you bring more of that stuff in because you're open to it. So that's the first thing. I think people need to get that perspective. And then once you do, it's a case of, okay, how does nutrition play into giving us fulfillment and energy and recovery from workouts and good brain function and better sleep and that kind of thing? And many, many years I've been doing this stuff, and I've been through all of the different things, the paleo, keto, vegan, whatever it is, you throw it in there, there's plenty of them, and you can probably see hundreds of books behind me with that kind of stuff in them. And I've tried it all. And recently, and this is very recently, last, say, couple of months, I've come up with my own version of what I think is is the most effective and simple way to run your nutrition. And I've never told anyone of this before, so you guys are the first people to hear this. There's still a lot of work for me to do on it, but the bones of it are there, and I think this is really, really important. And I call it a 3x5 diet. Excuse me, 3x5. And it's you eat 3 meals a day, 5 hours apart. And the reason is there's a lot of research been done about people eating too often because their blood glucose is still elevated, and you need to leave a bit of gap in between meals. So if, for example, you ate 8 a.m. breakfast, 1 p.m. lunch, 6 p.m. dinner, then you're leaving enough time in between those meals for your blood glucose to drop to the right level, for you to be able to switch between fat and carbohydrate burning in your cellular mechanism. And it gives you that metabolic flexibility. And it's just easy. It's just 3 meals. I'll have one at breakfast time, one at lunchtime, and one at dinner time. Who knew, right? But what it also does, without you realizing it, is after 6 o'clock, you don't eat again until 8. So that gives you a 14-hour window to really help with a little bit of that kind of fasting cellular mechanism stuff that's going on with clearing out of dead DNA and things. And then the structure of the meals is very simple. Breakfast and lunch would be protein, good fats, and vegetables or greens, whatever one you call it. So protein, good fats, and vegetables, breakfast and lunch. Dinner, protein, carbohydrate, and vegetables. And what that will allow is for you to sleep better, to continue to maintain serotonin during the night with the carbohydrate, and allow your blood glucose to work well over the 24-hour period. It's very simple. Nothing more complicated. And then what you eat in those meals, whole foods, all the stuff we know, good quality food, good fats, good protein sources, not too much carbohydrate at night. And, it kind of covers everything. And so from my perspective, that's the easiest, simplest, and most effective way of doing things without getting too confused.
It has to be easy, right? For people to be able to implement it in their lives. What are some of your favorite healthy fats?
I quite like oily fish because omega-3s are great. I really like salmon roe, salmon caviar, we call it. It's a little bit more expensive, but I think you get a bigger bang for your buck out of that no matter what. So I use that every week. It's on our shopping list. I like walnuts because they are good omega-3. A lot of nuts can be quite heavy in omega-6 pro-inflammatories. Avocado's great, avocado oil, olives, all the usual suspects. But those are the ones that I kind of favor the most.
I feel like you've taken the trendy diets over the last 5 to 7 years and nutrition concepts, and you've boiled it down into, like, you've taken the best of all of them and then put it into something easy that makes sense. And I love it.
I'm praying that I have, because then it will work. And I promise you, I don't know of it anywhere else, and I haven't put it out live anywhere else. It's been on none of my posts. It hasn't been on my podcast anywhere. And I seriously debated whether or not to bring it up on this one today. But I want to be able to do it because it is the right time for the people to start hearing about it, in my opinion. And there are some nuances to it. You can like jig it out and do some stuff with it, but making it simple, like Diana was saying, is kind of the ultimately important thing, because we shouldn't be focusing on our food so much that it paralyzes us to do anything else. You know, it doesn't, it's pointless. The food is just part of our existence. Make it simple, some very basic rules, and then we can get on with enjoying what else life has to offer.
Yeah, it's so good.
Absolutely. But you know, I agree 100% with what you're saying, is we shouldn't have to be so obsessed and focused on the food. But I find, like, with my clients and just with my friends and people in general, that food is still such a barrier, and it's still so difficult for people to get their minds wrapped around eating whole foods and getting rid of all the junk. What do you think is the biggest barrier for most people in this realm? Why is it so difficult?
Because they are looking for they're looking for an answer to a problem that they've got, whatever that might be: weight loss, energy, sleep, sex drive, whatever it is. So they're saying, "Oh, there must be an answer here. There must be this answer somewhere what do I have to do? How do I do it?" And they're not getting the answer, because they are still under the influence of the marketing and the peer groups and the influencers that are telling them that it's okay to eat pizza and burgers and French fries and things. And you look at all the advertising that comes up. You know, you never find an advert for junk food where you've got a 600-pound woman who can't get out of bed stuffing her face with pizza. It's always very happy people, very energetic, very good looking. And so, well, I want to be that, and why not? I like pizza. It tastes great. But the biggest problem that we have is no one is dealing with the belief that they have behind those foods. So if we look at somebody's, ultimate, what's most important to them about their health, and they will say, okay, I need to lose weight. Okay, why do you need to lose weight? Well, because I just don't like the way I look in the mirror. Okay, but what's wrong with the way you look? Well, because I feel as though I'm a failure if I look like this, and other people will judge me. Well, why is that a problem? Well, because I don't want people to think badly of me. Well, why not? Well, because I feel as though that keeps me, from taking part in society, and I want to be more confident in what I do with society. Okay, fine, great. So at the moment, we know that you don't feel good about yourself, and you don't feel as though your life is part of a bigger tribe or society or community because you're holding yourself back. Now, what we have to deal with is, why is it you're eating those foods? What do you think they're going to give you? Well, because you don't feel part of society, you don't feel part of community, or you don't feel good enough, they're actually comfort foods at the moment. And that's why you eat them, because they taste good, and, ice cream, who doesn't like ice cream, right? But they're not satisfying your most important need, which is getting into a society that you want to be a part of and feel the value and the love and the acceptance of other people. So whilst we run that belief that it's okay to eat these things and it's comforting, you're never going to get the ultimate thing you're after. So we just need to adjust that belief a little bit. And once we change the belief to say, if you want to be this most important thing, whatever that, and everybody's individual, by the way, but it basically always comes down to, I'm not good enough. But if we change the belief towards getting you to that most important thing, and now you realize why you need to do that, it's a lot easier to say, you know what, let's not eat so much of that and start eating more of these other foods. And when those whole foods are linked to the most important thing to them, they tend to be more compliant. But no one's dealing with that belief end of it. They're all going like, I need to lose weight, let's cut calories. And that's never going to work long term, because you haven't changed the beliefs. That's why Weight Watchers are still running. If Weight Watchers are successful, everyone will be thin and they'll be out of business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another area that we're really interested in when it comes to longevity is exercise. And one of my favorites, I think you follow Peter Attia, Dr. Peter Attia. Yeah. And I love how he's talked about the Centenarian Olympics. Have you heard him talk about that? For the listeners, Dr. Peter Attia has this list of exercises or things that he wants to be able to do when he's 100, like squatting a certain amount of weight. And so he's, in his 50s, maybe late 40s, early 50s. And so what he does today is building up to being able to do certain things when he's 100. So I love that. And I always keep that in mind. But I'd love to know, you've introduced your 3x5 diet, revealed that to the world. Do you have something similar when it comes to exercise? And I'm asking that because so many people that we work with seem to have the mentality of it's all or nothing. Yep. So if I can't work out an hour a day, 7 days a week, then I'm not going to do anything at all. When in fact, 15 minutes, heck, 5 minutes, if you do some push-ups and some air squats for 5 minutes, like that's gonna really be beneficial. And something is always better than nothing. So what kind of strategies do you have for people listening around exercise for longevity?
Well, firstly, controversial, I think Peter Attia is going to change his mind in the not too distant future, because as we get older, things do become different. Peter trains 11 hours a week, and that's not a lot for him. And that's unreasonable for the real person in the real world. And most people are not research scientists that have done huge amounts of endurance events in the past, and they're used to training 20 hours a week. So we need to differentiate between someone who's an exception to the rule and bring it into the real people of the world who have got lives and jobs and are not fixated on that part of their life. And that's the majority of people. I certainly think less is more when it comes to longevity. So long as you're mobile and you're strong, and you've got a certain level of cardiovascular fitness, I think that's all you need. So from my perspective, this is my personal training. I'll train 3 days a week with a trainer, and we do, just because it interests me, not because of anything else. We'll do some MMA training, a lot of boxing, a lot of rings, so gymnastic ring work, that kind of stuff. It's all body weight stuff, no weights involved. And it's more than enough to keep me mobile and flexible and strong. And in between times, I may do some very low intensity cardio work on a bike normally, because I can control the heart rate, and it allows me to do other things at the same time. So whether it be emails or social media or anything like that. So it's not a great deal, right? Maybe 3 hours, 5-6 hours a week, maybe on a good week. And I think that's all I need to be fit and well, and that I can consistently do that for the next 50 years. Here's the thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand. And I agree, by the way, Dan, with the push-ups. You do 5 minutes of continuous push-ups, see how far you get. You're not going to be doing it. And the same with squats, it's going to hurt. And it will be beneficial, right? But I think when people look at training programs, if we go back to the 1980s, when we had this big uptick in exercise. Now, in the 70s, there was no exercise, right? We were like, what's that? People didn't own a pair of, I can't remember what you call them, trainers, we call them here, the training shoes. People didn't own, it wasn't a thing. Certainly didn't go out in the street with them on, right? Because that was a definite no. So we then started getting this big uptick in exercise, Jane Fonda and the like, doing all the aerobics. And it got more and more and more, because you had to go the next level to generate interest, so for a new type of customer to buy your product. So it's no good me just doing aerobics exercises, videos for the next 20 years, because they'll become boring and I need to do the next thing. But what we've come to now is when people look online, or even if they go to a trainer, they will be doing a block of work that realistically is designed especially if you just get it off online, is designed for somebody who's going to compete in some sort of event, be it an athletic event or a strongman event or a figure model event or whatever it is. And that stuff is temporary. You do that because you're leading up to an event, and then you do the event and then you stop and you go back to a different type of training. These people are doing this stuff for years, and they're in the gyms, training 4, 5, 6 days a week. They're doing double split routines, push pull legs, whatever it is they want to do. And it's always about that. But there's no event ever coming up. And they don't ever seem to get anywhere doing it because the training's all wrong. And all they do is create injury and fall out of love with it and tend to not be very consistent and then get a lot of mental issues around the fact that I'm not doing any exercise or I ate an apple today, so I've got to get on the treadmill for an hour. And that is just not valuable. Less is definitely more because we need to be active. It's what our bodies are designed for. But outside of the gym, outside of these specific training times, that's when we've got the ability to go outside and start actually enjoying the world around us, be it hiking, walking, swimming, fishing, climbing, doing whatever it is, because that's where we get so much more enjoyment from. And then you see all these various things in the world that your focus is, you're not seeing because you're stuck in a gym or whatever else it is. So I think just being strategic with it, doing the right stuff that keeps you strong, mobile, and cardiovascularly fit. And other than that, get on with enjoying life. I don't think you should be focusing on it in a huge way.
And I really wanted to highlight something you said about when you work with your trainer, how you do MMA and kickboxing and that sort of thing because you enjoy it, you're into it. Yeah. And I think that is the key, is just to find something that you really enjoy so that you will stick with it for the rest of your life. And then to your latter point of maybe that's playing Frisbee with your kids, something outside. But I'm a personal trainer as well. And I get a lot of questions about, what's the perfect type of cardio? What should I be doing for cardio? What's the best? And I say, what do you like? Tell me what you like and do that. And I also think that, that it's worth highlighting your point about just doing enough, that you don't need to overdo it. And again, it's back to that all or nothing mentality. I had a client the other day who has a sedentary job. She's working 8 to 10 hours a day and does zero exercise at all. So I said, do you think you could start taking one walk a day? Yeah, I think I could do that. Okay. And do you think you could start with 15 minutes? If I write you a full body 15-minute workout program, could you start doing that one day a week? And she laughed out loud. And I said, what's funny about that? And she's like, one day a week, I could do that every day. And I said, but you're not doing anything right now. So just doing that 15 minutes, if you can commit to doing that one day a week, that's going to be very beneficial, in addition to your walk. Yeah. So, and that's something, if you can do that, that's going to build self-efficacy and, just sort of snowball into who knows what. But can
I just say something that people don't realize as well is that people take up exercise for some sort of ulterior motive. In other words, I want to lose weight or I want to be fitter or whatever it is. But they do it with a goal in mind at some fictional time in the future. Mm-hmm. So when I've lost the weight, then I'll be happy. When I've got this speed or then whatever it is, that date never comes because you're never thin enough. You're never fast enough. You're never strong enough because you always can do more. And so what happens is they spend years and years and years exercising and none of it is happy. They might say, it's my happy place. I go to the gym. You're not happy in there. But you're going there as a chore because if you don't go there, you feel so bad that you haven't done it. That's not how exercise needs to be set up. Exercise needs to be set up so that you enjoy it today because you're happy today. And it's not about some payoff in the future. Because that future date is never coming, let me tell you, and you're going to be miserable for the next 20 years, and you're still not going to get the payoff, and you're going to look back and go, well, what happened there? Where was the happiness? And so doing exercise because you enjoy it, like you say, whether it's Frisbee, whether it's, climbing or doing something that you just get a buzz out of, or whatever it is, skateboarding or biking or whatever, because it gets your heart rate up and it gets your muscles moving. That's all you want to be doing. You don't want to be sitting there and going, okay, I need to do this because I need to lose the weight. It can help, but let's go back to the beliefs about what you're eating. That will get you way more weight loss than any exercise ever will. You're never going to out-train a bad diet, and you're never going to create enough calorie deficit from training. And if you do, you're going to be so miserable doing it that your life's going to be just rubbish. So it's about really enjoying what you do on a daily, and not because it's going to pay me something in the future. It's about, what's it paying me today, and what am I loving about this? And as soon as I don't want to go to the training session, I know either I need a day off or I need to change the training session.
Yeah, well said. And don't think about trading tacos for a treadmill for tacos.
That's never
exactly. Yeah. So how do you work with your clients and help them create this mindset, especially for people that haven't been active? And, as Diana said, somebody that's not been doing anything, not been active, and isn't even really sure where to start to find something that brings them some joy to do it. Like creating this mindset for 65, 75, 85, thinking about the future, maybe not with the goal for being the future, like you said, but, different mindset, different things that you might engage in over time to last your lifetime. How do you work with your clients on that mindset part?
Well, I have patients in their 70s, quite a few of them actually. And what really interests me is that they're still out there, swinging the bat. They're still like, I still want to get better. I still want to be optimal. I still want to be healthy. When I was a kid, 70 was kind of, wow, ancient. Life's over. How why would you still be playing? At that time. But people, obviously, as we get older, we want to be healthy, and it's important. And the way I try and instill the mindset is, it's not about the future. It's not about what am I going to do today that's going to serve me in 10 years, because I don't know if 10 years time is going to come. And if it does, great. But if I'm focusing on 10 years time, I'm missing today. People aren't getting this concept. You have to enjoy today. So what can we do today? Right? What do we need to do that's going to be happy, joyful? It's going to be healthy for you. It's going to pay your tax today so that you get great sleep and you've got lots of energy and your mind and your brain is working really well and you've got great memory and your sex drive is still good and you're still really happy and joyful. Then, because it doesn't take much, you can just change a few little things. And then once they start feeling that on a more regular basis, there's not a lot else you have to do, because that's what they're bought into now. They go, I love feeling like this. I get people saying, my brain's firing on all cylinders for the first time ever, and I'm 55 years old. Or I've never had so much energy, and I love the fact that I feel completely confident in what I'm doing is the right thing for me, and I'm loving it. And that's all I'm going to worry about. And so you can enjoy every day now. Doesn't matter what's coming up. Centenarian Olympics, great. If you get there, play. If you don't, doesn't matter, because you've enjoyed every day along the way. But if your focus is what am going to happen in 50 years, you're missing what life has to offer. And for me personally, whether you come back multiple lives or not, doesn't really matter. Today is what matters. And I've had this wonderful opportunity today to speak to you, fantastic ladies. You're doing a great job, and I'm hopefully getting a message out that people will benefit from. And that's one of my amazing things today, right? It's a joy, and it's fantastic. It's a passion of mine. I'm not worried about what I'm going to do tomorrow, because that's going to be another day that I'm going to be open to looking for more happiness and joy and doing the things I want to do. And that's it. So that's how I kind of try and adjust that mindset. Do it today for today, because that's all we've got, right?
Yeah. Well, that transitions us really well into that whole concept of mindfulness and, the broader topic of mindfulness with our longevity. So, I feel like this is a really big area that is missing in many people's lives. People are so busy. And when I think of the concept of mindfulness, the word awareness is what comes to me more than mindfulness, because all of the different ways of incorporating the concept of mindfulness into your life really are about building awareness for yourself, for your state of mind, for where you are in relationship to the people around you and the thoughts around you, those kinds of things. So how do you go about using mindfulness with your clients as a centering tool, as a way to help bring the whole concept of longevity to fruition? How does it fit in?
Again, it's about what's valuable today. And we know, so for example, I'll give you a good example. So recently Aura came out with their version 3 ring, right? And the thing that it does that the other one doesn't do is it tracks your heart rate 24 hours. The other one just did it at night. So for me, what it told me was that during the day, I don't get into a restorative state as much as I thought I was. And so it's quite important to be in a parasympathetic rest and digest, recover kind of state rather than parasympathetic a lot of the time. And so that highlighted it to me. So what's important to me is how do I get the best out of today? And so I need to get into more restorative stuff. I need to use some tactics to be more parasympathetic. So maybe some magnesium during the day helps with that, sitting down and breathing a bit, taking some specific time, even 5 minutes, just to do some box breathing and things, because I know it's valuable for me today. It's good for my energy. It's good for my mind. It's good for my output and my productivity, and it's good for my sleep. So, okay, well, let me put that in there. Make that our priority, because I'm only worried about today, not worried about longevity. Longevity will come if I'm good today. If I worry about how am I going to get to 90, 100 years old, all I'm doing is worrying about that. There's enough in this world at the moment to worry about. I don't need that as well. So let me just think about how can I make my day as optimal as possible. So some people, patients of mine, it will be a breathing exercise. Can you do it once a day for 5 minutes? If you can do it twice a day, oh my God, fantastic. Let's do that. But once a day is more than enough. If you're, like you said, if you're doing nothing, it's a massive step up. And then when people start realizing the benefit, they kind of like doing that. And so if you're only doing things in the day that are really beneficial to you, that serve you, why would you want to do other stuff that isn't so great? And so you kind of focus on the great stuff and just doing the things that you know benefit you. Now, some people were going to say, but I can't sit for half an hour and just think of nothing and meditate. You go, yeah, that's right. Most people can't. And that's people stress overdoing the de-stressing. Okay, we got to stop that, right? So finding things like the breathing, 4 count in, hold for 7, breathe out for 8, do that 5 times, 10 times, whatever it is you want to do. That kind of stuff you can do. It's a very short period of time and it's so valuable to you. Why would you not do it? What else are you doing that's more important? Because that stuff isn't going to really give you anything other than more stress and worse outcomes. So we can substitute it with something that's much better, and you're going to feel much better after 5 minutes, which then allows you to go on and be more enthusiastic about the other things you're going to do. It's about today, not about 100 years time, because today's the only day we have. And I know I keep repeating myself, but they all accumulate those days. And if you're doing the best thing today, then full well you're going to be healthy and well in the years to come.
Yeah. And I think continuing to repeat that all we have is today is so important, because how many of us live in the present? Very few.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love the quote. My dad always says, the person who worries before it is necessary worries more than is necessary. So many of us are in the future constantly worrying. And what does that do to today? You can't experience today.
Yep. What's the point? Who knows what's going to come in the future? We're talking about the future and I'm saying, don't worry about it. Meanwhile, I've obviously got social media posts all lined up for the future, right? Because you get organized, because it's easy. I can do that. I can put them out. I don't have to worry about it so much. But Christmas Day, my post says, don't give presents, be present.
That's good.
And that's it, right? Because that's what people want at the end of the day. They want you to be, my 3-year-old does not want me on the phone, does not want me to, well, she does want me to give her presents, but more importantly, she wants interaction with me, to be there with her, not a second, she's the second thought because I'm too busy doing something else. So when I'm in the room with her, that's all I want to do is be present. And I don't really want the television on because I don't want her going off and looking at something else. And she watches TV, don't get me wrong. But when you're interacting, you want to be able to really enjoy that time with her. I want to notice what her face looks like, the expressions on her face, how amazement, a dimmer switch is to her. It's like the most amazing thing in the world. And you go, yeah, of course, actually, that is quite amazing. But we forget about these things. But you see that in her, and that's that joy you have every day. And so,
isn't that something that we just lost so much just with all of the technology that we have around us all of the time? Yeah. It's like we have so many distractions. We don't know how to be present anymore. Yeah. And I know I can be guilty of that too. The phone goes off and you're in the middle of the conversation and you look at it and it's like, oh, wait, no, I need to focus on you. But we have so many distractions. So clearing out that noise is so important.
There's nothing within those distractions that's that valuable, to be honest with you, right? And we could get into a very long conversation about this. And if you ever wanted to, I'd happily come back and just talk about this. But social media, influencing, marketing, and how that creates our beliefs around our behaviors is a huge thing that needs to be unraveled in people who have got big problems from a health perspective, because their beliefs about their actions are not their choice. Right? They are not decided on what food they're going to eat. They've been influenced with some very, very powerful marketing, and be it social media, be it TV adverts, be it whatever it is, from a very young age, and undoing those beliefs about it's okay, everyone eats McDonald's, what's the matter with you? I mean, that's why it's called a happy meal. It makes you happy. And knowing what really the ulterior motive is behind that, quite important, and realizing that technology has not improved our lives. It's actually made it much more detrimental. And now we don't have the capacity to deal with the amount of information that's being thrown at us every day. Our brains are nowhere near adapted enough to deal with that. That's why we have all these dopamine issues and depression and suicides and things like that we never had before. It's not by accident. It's because things that are being put in front of us are not for our benefit. It's for the benefit of the people marketing it to us and trying to take our money.
So you mentioned you use your Oura Ring and you like that as a tool, and it's helped give you insights about yourself to be able to find the proper mindfulness techniques that you need to incorporate for your own life. Are there other tools that you use like that for your clients that help bring those insights to identify what type of mindfulness or, other enhancing activities would be best for them individually?
Yeah. Do you know, it's interesting. I don't always use my Oura Ring. I use it during periods where I'm trying to change something and seeing whether or not that new protocol is beneficial or not. And then I don't wear it, because I've done all the tracking over the years. And I find that all it does is create anxiety. We never had this stuff up until maybe 10 years ago when the Fitbit first came out. And prior to that, we had a heart rate monitor just to see what our heart rate was. But the more complex the tracking devices have become, I think the more anxiety it drives us. I haven't done all my steps today, or my heart rate was too low or too high, or my sleep was this, or oh my God, I tried to do everything and it's wrong and it's not working. And so I don't use it often for long periods of time. With patients, I will certainly put some kind of heart rate variability tracking in place. Normally it's a very simple one on the phone that they can do for one purpose, and that's to visually show them the consequence of their actions that they weren't aware of before. When you drink late at night, this is what your sleep is like. If you eat too late, this is what disturbs your sleep. When you're on your phone, this is how your sleep is disturbed. Let's come off your phone within 3 hours of bed, not eat so late at night, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see, look, this is what changed next day. Can you see how it affects you biologically? Yes, great. There's proof. And you've now bought into the fact that maybe you shouldn't just do things because you were just, taken along with the wave that nobody thought about. They just thought, it must be okay to sit on my phone at 10, 11 o'clock at night, still looking at Facebook or whatever it is they're doing. And it doesn't disturb my sleep. Why would it? But once you can get them to visually see things that are not right, and then you can change it and show the difference, kind of it's all you need for, in my opinion, because then they've got compliance and they go, yep, okay, I'm in, let's do what we need to do. And once you start feeling better, you just want to feel better with the least amount of input, right? You don't want to have 4 different monitoring devices and then various sorts of wacky biohacks, and I've got to do grounding and journaling and red light therapy, and I've got to do this and that. And if I don't do all of that before 8 a.m., then I won't be able to have my coffee with my MCT oil, because otherwise it's just like, really? I'm not thinking, you're not enjoying life doing that, I can assure you.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a lot about, I'm laughing because there's so many people out there in our space that, I wonder, I'm like, how do you do all of that in a day and still see your wife or your husband and your kids? And it's just,
Can I say, Diana, listen, I had somebody come to me a little while ago who was all about the biohacking. I promise you, she would get up, she would do meditation, then grounding, then sort of HIIT training, then coffee with MCT. I think there was even red light therapy in there. All of this before breakfast.
And her CGM, right? Her continuous glucose monitor.
Yeah, I don't think she did have, but she probably would have if she had access to one, right? And she comes to me with low libido, hair falling out, no energy, and I'm just like, well, clearly that stuff's not working. That stuff's probably persisting the problem. And there are other things going on that we need to address. Yeah. If you don't address the bottom line of things, all that other stuff is pointless and expensive. Yeah. And so, I've got nothing against grounding, right? I think you should do it. I've got nothing against red light therapy. It can be really useful. Infrared saunas, I do it 3 times a week. After my training, there's a sauna there. I'll sit in there 15 minutes because I know it has value and I want mitochondrial function. But it's part of my life, it's part of my routine. It's not something that I'm saying, if I don't do it, then life's over. It's just like, well, I'm there. I cannot tell you how close the sauna is to the training mats. It's like 2 feet away. I might as well use the thing. And so this is not about, I need to do all this stuff, otherwise things won't work. But people they want to do the sexy stuff. We get distracted by shiny objects. And they want to go and do all that quick fix thing. And they don't want to do all the stuff about, well, I need to get to sleep. Or get off your phone, start breathing a bit better, calm down a bit, do some meditation or breathing exercises, and just relax in a way that takes 5 minutes. Don't eat the wrong foods at night. Be conscious about the water that you're drinking, because, stop drinking that tap water. Whatever it is, but they don't, no, this grounding says it's going to cure everything. Well, okay, go for it. Unless you're doing the basics, that stuff's just a waste of time. So getting them to realize, if you're coming to me with those kind of symptoms, what you're doing isn't working. And let's clear the decks, do some comprehensive testing, see what really is going on, and then address those things in a way that we can sustain this stuff for the next 50 years, but doing it each day to make ourselves happier.
That's what's so refreshing about you, is it's just that back to basics mentality of getting the basics dialed in before, doing all of these, like you said, the shiny object syndrome.
But without the basics, there's nothing else that works.
Exactly.
But it's not sexy.
That's right.
You can't sell a book on that, right? It's just like, I know that, but give me the thing. What's the intermittent fasting? You got to do 14 hours and 32 minutes because that's when the growth hormone will definitely be in and your cortisol will be lowest. And if you eat then, really,
Yeah. I actually think it's 13 hours and 47 minutes.
Well, I heard that, but then someone else said 42. So
Come on, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about what you do for your patients. Tell us about what you do personally. You know, you're such a busy guy with your business and your family. So tell us what you do personally to incorporate these things in your life.
I do as little as possible because I want it just to be normal life, right? So I get up and my default, which has took me a while, but I've tried different perspectives and I haven't found any of them that work as well as get up and just go, right, today's going to be amazing. I just need to go and find the opportunities that are going to bring that amazement to me. And whether it's playing with my kids, whether it's something I see outside or appreciate something that I've heard. I was in the sauna the other week and there's another guy in there, never met him before, had this amazing conversation about America. He was in New York and about Jamaica, where he was from and what the different cultural things were. And it's just very interesting. And it was 20 minutes out, done. But that was a conversation that really gave something more to my day because it taught me something. And I just appreciated the fact that it was there. I could have sat in that sauna and said nothing to him for 20 minutes and got out. But it's just being aware of, I just want to find stuff that's amazing today because that's the marker to how much quality of life you've got, right? So that's the first thing. I do make sure the water I drink is clean. I've got a reverse osmosis countertop filter that I use, and then I will fill up one of these, sits next to on my desk, and I'll drink that throughout the day. And I will do my exercise when I have to do that. I'll spend time with patients, trying to improve their lives, and so that gives me a sense of well-being and value. And then from a supplementation perspective, I like to, because of my age, I want to really support mitochondrial function for energy and immune function because why not? And those two things I will use some specific products for, and that's kind of it. I don't really do much else. Just about, I've got, I want to go and find some amazing things. Let me go and find them. And I know it sounds a bit weird, but what's better than that? I'm still not, don't get me wrong, money is important. And as soon as I started doing this and really enjoying life, my income went up probably 8-fold. It was insane. And I've certainly made more than enough money in my life to be very comfortable, but I make a great deal every year in my practice because when you give back people the amazing capacity to live an amazing, happy life, there's a lot of value to that. But you're not just doing that from a mental perspective, you're also dealing with all of their health issues. So a lot of the stuff we do is preventative in people, right? So we know mold, toxicity, heavy metals all cause cancer, all cause Alzheimer's, dementia, that kind of thing. There's no cure for that once you get it. So we pick it up early and we deal with it and we give people back the energy and the sex drive and the clarity of mind and everything else, as well as this great perspective and just life's amazing. Obviously there's a cost to that because the tests are expensive and the treatment is expensive. But it's knowing, every single person that's ever done it has said it's worth every penny because I've never felt this great. And I think as we go on in life, we do get this question of there's got to be more to life than this, surely. Like, this can't be it, because people do become like disillusioned with where they've got to, or how happy they are, or the achievements, because they think maybe I should have done more by now. The truth of the matter is they're comparing themselves to other people, and we're all just making it up as we go along. Like, there's no rule book that says, right, Paul Burgess at 55, you must do this and this and this, and then you must have achieved that, and that's where you should be, and this is how you do it. There's none of that. So I compare myself to the next person. They go, oh, look, they're doing better. They've got a bigger house or a better car or more this, or, whatever it is. But what you don't realize is they're also making it up as they go along. So it's not even comparable, because they look at me and say, oh, no, he's really got it great. I mean, he's really worked it out. You go, no, my life's a mess. It's chaos. And so once you actually step out of all of that and just go, look, today, let me get the basics right and start enjoying life again. All of a sudden, where you are, what you've achieved and all the rest of it is not important anymore, because you're starting to enjoy life again. And you also find happier people tend to be healthier.
Yeah, that is a perfect place to wrap up.
Yeah. You know, something that you're saying that you didn't say specifically, but what I'm hearing is finding your sense of purpose. What makes you feel whole? And not being afraid to embark on that. Because, you know, I talk to a lot of people that they'll default to whatever's easy during the day versus making the effort to put forth what they need to do to create what they need and find that space that gives them the joy, that gives them the sense of purpose. It might take a little bit of effort to get there, but it's worth it, because that sense of purpose is what keeps us going day to day, year to year, right? I mean, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
100%. Very quick last thing. People are happy choose education over entertainment. And what that means is when you're doing things that really excite you and educate you, and you learn and you've got this great passion for and stuff, you get this great sense out of it that it's valuable and it's growing you. When all you're doing is sitting there watching television because you want to be entertained, you're missing all of that. Because that stuff doesn't, how many times you sit and watch something and go, oh, TV's rubbish. There's never anything on. I've got 1,000 channels and nothing's on. Oh, it's ridiculous. Let me moan for the next 3 hours before I go to bed. And so happy people tend to choose education over entertainment.
Yeah, very true. Do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the things you have available for your patients, for other practitioners, to get them interested in this space?
Yeah, so for one-to-one patients, it's very simple. You can go to my website, which is paulburgess.uk. And the fact that I'm in the UK doesn't matter, because I treat people all around the world. And you can click on a button there that gives you a free 30-minute chat with me. It's never 30 minutes, as you probably tell, I talk a lot. So it's normally about an hour by the time I've had a chat with you. And it would just talk about health and what you're going through and whether or not we would want to do any work together. And when I do, it's either a 6 or 12-month program, because I want to be in someone's life. Like, I want to be saturated in it so that they can really get all the support that they need, and we can do everything we need to do. It's no good saying, okay, do this, come back in 3 months, because that stuff doesn't work. It has to be every 2 weeks we see each other, every week we speak, and I just want to keep on track of things so that people know that they're doing the right thing. And sometimes you'll know when you put something in place and it doesn't work as well as you thought it was going to, then you need to change it quickly. You don't need to wait 6 months to do that. So that's certainly available to anybody that's interested in that. And that's where we would do the testing. Blood's massively important. I think, again, mold, toxicity, organic acids, heavy metals, bacterial, viral, that kind of thing, Lyme, Borrelia, those sort of things are quite prominent, and people don't really look into them long enough because they don't know how to treat them, so they kind of avoid them. So anything like that is worth looking at in some circumstances. And then from a practitioner perspective, we've got a company that trains practitioners to actually make money at their chosen passion. And it's not about making huge amounts of money for yourself. It's about having a successful practice that allows you to create value for your patients. Because by doing that, you're getting so much more fulfillment, and the money comes with it, right? It's just the way it is, because it's just expensive to really look after your health. And people tend to think it should be free. And actually, it's the most important thing to you. It's the most valuable thing to you. You are going to have to invest some money in it. But when you do it properly, you get such value for the investment that the money's not even a concern. And that's why a lot of my testimonials will be like, certainly with the practitioners, we have people that are maybe doing 20,000 a year, doing 20,000 a month. Or certainly there's a lady in America who came on our training, and from you, she had a clinic before, but she wasn't a practitioner. She came in the course to become a practitioner. And I think in the first 4 months, she had like $90,000. It's insane. And it's not because about the money. It's about she knew how to communicate her message correctly to the patient so that they understood what needed to be done to get them the happy, fulfilling life that they're after. And that they were in, they go, yeah, okay, I want to do that. Let's go. Here's the money. I'm all in, because they were getting the good results. So we've got a training company that does that for practitioners. And it's a busy time. It's great.
And you have a fabulous podcast too. So
I've got a podcast, 182 episodes, I think it is now, and it's been running since 2014 when people didn't really have podcasts back then, and now everyone's got one. But so that's been running a long time, and hopefully that brings some education and some insights to people. We've had lots of really amazing people. No one as amazing as you guys, obviously, but we peaked when we had you on. But that still runs. Has a lot of listeners, and downloaded in I think 60 or 70 countries around the world now, and does its thing. Life's great.
Yeah,
what can it be?
Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm not sure what for, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, it has been so much fun to catch up with you, and we're definitely going to take you up on coming back on.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But in the meantime, just keep making the world a better place.
Yeah, man. It's what else is there to do? Yeah. That's more fulfilling on a daily basis. Honestly, I know it sounds cheesy, and it's like, it's easy for him. It's not about that. It's about what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because if you can be happy every day, everything else just falls into place. It took me a long time, by the way, to get to that. Right? I was all for the shortcuts as a younger man, but it's life's amazing, and we need to just make the most of it and get everybody else doing the same thing. We wouldn't have so many problems if that was the case.
Yeah. Well, we know how busy you are, so thank you so much for sharing your time, and thank you for everybody out there also. We really appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to give us a like and share this if you found it valuable. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
If you'd like to access other episodes or subscribe so you don't miss a beat, you can find us at nanp.org/NANP-podcast.
Membership in the NANP provides you with a competitive advantage. Whether you're a current practitioner or a student, we want you to become an active, informed leader of the holistic nutrition community and join today at nanp.org. NANP is very proud to provide the highest level of professional recognition and validation in the holistic nutrition industry through the board certification in holistic nutrition credential. To earn this valuable designation, candidates must demonstrate an exceptional level of knowledge and understanding of holistic nutrition by passing a board exam and documenting client contact hours. Are you ready to boost your credibility with board certification? Visit nanp.org today to apply.
Keep in mind that the information on the NANP podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical or legal advice. The NANP is not liable or responsible for any harm, damage, or illness arising from the use of the information contained herein. By listening to the information on this podcast, you agree to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the NANP and all agents. Copyright NANP, all rights reserved.